Let's see the homework for the more functions section. I would like you to consider the following. For simplicity mainly, any iterables that would be in the homework is mainly list, tuple, set, or dictionary, the four things that you know very well. Their values, their inner value, the values inside them will not be none. Okay, this is just for simplicity. Do not use the length function. Avoid it as much as you can. If it is convenient, pass a lambda function. The first problem is a filter problem. We will have a function that take a function and an iterable. It iterate on this list, for example, and filter it with this function. For example, let's say we have a list and we would like to filter all of the things that are like matching the is even function here. So if you pass is even, it is going to filter all of them and keep only the is even numbers. Okay, this is my logic. In another scenarios, maybe someone would like to make it the negative of it. So filter all of the numbers that aren't even. So we keep here 2, 4, 6, and 10. This is mainly the requested here. It's a simple function close to what we did already in the slides. Let's go to a bit more logic. The remaining of the problems are a bit like verbs in explanation, so try to focus as much as you could. We will develop a myReduce function. The myReduce function here is taking a function and iterable. All of this iterable will be reduced to a single value, and each best function will mainly at least take two arguments, a and b. Okay, so mainly here. So I'm passing the max function, which can take two arguments, and I'm passing a set of 7, 20, and 10. All of this iterable will be reduced to a single function using this max function. The max of these three guys is 20. But how to reduce? You should do this in an iterative way. Let's say, for example, you are passing the sum function of a and b and this list. Practically speaking, all of this list should be summed, which would be 2, 5 is 7, blah, blah, blah. Overall is around 28. So here is how the reduction happens in an iterative way. 2 plus 5 is 7. 7 plus 6 is 13. So 13 plus 7 is 20. 20 plus 8 is 28. And so on. So it takes a single list or whatever iterable, and it takes a function, reduce all of them to a single value. That's it. Okay? Try to pass for it some lambdas for the some multiply, max, min, and so on. So don't pass max, pass a lambda function that compute the max or the min of two arguments. If you are done with that, let's extend it to this init default variable. If I'm passing an initial value, you can think of it as a starting point. For example, let's say I'm passing here for the summation, I would pass init with 0, for example. Then as if you have it as an initial value like 0, 1, 0, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, for example. For multiplication, a good init value would be the 1, for example. So init equal 1, which is like you are multiplying in all of them. So init is your initial value that you are consecutively applying the best function to it. If the iterable is empty, there are two cases. The first case is init itself isn't none, then you return it. So the iterable is empty, like empty list, but you have an init value of 7, then you return the 7. If the iterable is empty and the init is none, then we have nothing to do. This is weird logic. So we'll raise a type error, and the message will be reduce of empty sequence with no initial value. Let's move to another version of reduction. In this version, we will take two functions. One of them will be applied as an overall, and another will be applied consecutive. Please do not do problem 2 before doing problem 1 because it's like an extension. The function 2 is applied on every consecutive pairs. We will divide the input to pairs and apply the function 2 on them. And the result of all of that, we will apply the function over all of them. And both function 2 and function 1 receiving two arguments. Let's see an example. Let's say function 1 is a multiplication. It takes two numbers, multiply them. Function 2 is addition. And let's say we have this list here. Then divide them to pairs, 2, 5, 3, 4, 5, and 10. Apply the function 2 consecutive on them. So 2 plus 5, 3 plus 4, 5 plus 10. And apply function 1 over all the multiplication. So this times this, and so on. Please review the example to make sure that you understand now the difference between function 2 and function 1. Do not use the length function, but I'm still challenging you to, if the length is less than 2, raise an error with this statement. If the length isn't even, raise an error with this statement. So find your way to do this two handling without using the length function. In problem number 4, we are going to create our own map function. The map function is receiving asterisk iterables, which means it's receiving a variable number of iterables. Looking to the code here, we are passing a function that takes 3 arguments and compute the absolute and multiply all of them together. And we are passing 3 lists. Observe the 3 lists and a function that takes 3 arguments. If we are passing 4 lists, we will have a function that is receiving 4 arguments. And then the function will do the mapping as following. It will take the first element from this guy, and the first element from this guy, and the first element from this guy, send them to the multiply absolute function, take the result and put it in a list. And then takes the second variable, and the second variable, and the third value, send them to multiply apps, and take the value and append it to the list. So if you notice here, 1 and 4 will be multiplied together, will be 16, the first value. Then 2, 5 and 5 will be 50 when you multiply them, 50 here. Then 3 and 6 is 18 times 10 is 180. Then 2 times 7 is 14 times 9 is 126. Then one of the lists is done. This is a bigger list, but both of them are done. So we stop at this moment. So the minimum length here of a list is 4. We return only 4 elements. That's all. So the map function is receiving bunch of iterables, take from each one of them an element, send it to the function, take the result, put it in the list. And that's all. The function that we will develop, the map function, should be developed in a single short line. A single short line. Finally, nested lambda. We learned about if loops, functions, class, even lambda can be nested. And I gave you an example in the quizzes about the nested lambda. There is nothing special about nested lambda. It's just the lambda has a body and the body is another nested lambda. To make it easier for you, we will do this homework in 2 steps. First, I would like you to develop a function that takes values for a range. So we will develop ff function that takes start and end step. Remember the range. When you say range of 2 and 6 and 1, it gives you all of this range. Or you give it, for example, 6 and 2 and minus 1, it gives you a decreasing range. So we'll pass the arguments for a range. The function returns a closure, and this closure receives argument function f. It then apply f on every element in the given range and return a list of all of them. Let's see an example. Assume the function that we will pass is the square function, and the range is 2, 6, and 1. The code goes as following. First, you call the ff with the range 2, 6, and 1, and it returns for you a processor. This is a closure function. Now we pass to the closure the square function. It will iterate in the range. The range is 2, 3, 4, 5. And apply the square function on every one of them, which will be 4, 9, 16, and 25. I hope you understand now what this function is doing. It is a function returning a function that is in the future will receive a function to apply on all of the functions here. Once you are done with this task, I would like to rewrite the same code as a nested lambda. So here we have a function that is returning a closure. This will be a lambda that is returning a lambda. The usage should be exactly the same. I know that today homework was a bit very verbose, so you need to listen a lot to understand exactly what is a task, but I hope overall you got me.